Sup guys, it's Tealus here, and I am in the Dalaran sewers for the final time. We are here for the final class overview of rogues, taking a look at the assassination specialization. We have gone through outlaw rogues, the new name change, I guess you could say, for combat rogues. We have gone through subtlety rogues, and so now it is assassination's turn. Now, Blizzard, throughout this expansion, and actually a little bit in Warlords of Draenor and maybe Mists of Pandaria, has worked really hard to differentiate the three different the different specs in the game, to make them feel like they have their own playstyle. They've done it before with mages, with warlocks. In this expansion, they were really hitting hard on rogues, hunters, and maybe a little bit of priest as well. And I will say that Assassination Rogue is by far, out of all the specs that I've done so far, which I've probably gone through maybe 12, 13, 14 up till now, of all the specs that I've done so far, this is by far the least changed specialization in the entire game. Why is that? Even though they wanted to separate rogues, so much, and they did so many changes to outlaw and subtlety, well, basically all three of the rogue specs that were in the game prior to World of Warcraft Legion basically were just derivatives of, you had Assassination Rogue and then you had two derivatives of Assassination Rogue. At least that's how Blizzard felt. And so now, with the changes to Outlaw, making it it's kind of its own swashbuckling, rogue, and making subtlety really kind of into that stealth type of gameplay, they're able to just take the elements of Assassination Rogue and condense it and make it into a truly, poison and bleed based spec. I'm gonna kill you, but it may not just be like through a dagger in the back. It can be very well through poisons. It can be through bleeds, etc. So this is going to be Assassination Rogue, and basically Rogue's already kind of played to this, and Outlaw moved away from this, Subtlety moved away from this, but Assassination, this is kind of its home ground. So a lot of the changes, or lack of changes of Assassination Rogue, deal with the fact that basically everything's already in place for them. So the changes that you'll see were basically to condense Assassination Rogues, prune them into what they see as the ideal Assassination Rogue, and you'll see that. As I said just earlier, this is by far the least changed spec I have ever seen so far, and I've been through a little over a third of the specs by now. So, with that being said, this will be a two-part video series. First, we will look at the removed, changed, and new abilities for an Assassination Rogue, as well as the artifact weapons coming to an Assassination Rogue in World of Warcraft Legion. And then in the second video, we will take a look at the PvE and PvP talents coming to an Assassination Rogue in World of Warcraft Legion. So, let's go ahead and get into it. First, with removed abilities, Ambush has been removed. This is an Outlaw-only ability. Blizzard felt Ambush was more iconic to what Outlaw can do, so it has now been removed. For both Subtlety and Assassination, it is Outlaw-only. Blind has been removed from Assassination. It is now Outlaw and Subtlety only. So that is something that PvPers will miss dearly as an Assassination Rogue, and that'll be something that they kind of have to make up for. Dispatch has been removed. As I've said before in other Rogue videos, I'm not the best in Rogue knowledge. It's the only spec, or it's the only class. Whew, I couldn't even get that out. It's the only class in which I really have not gotten to max level, and so I'm not really sure how important Dispatch was to a rogue. However, Dispatch, I believe, from what I've read and looked at in the tooltips, really played into what Blizzard kind of feel would be more like combat/outlaw, and so that is why it's been removed. Gouge has been removed. It is now outlaw only. So that has been removed for Assassination. Recuperate has been removed across the board for all rogues. I'm personally okay with this, being one who has a lot of fun in hunting down rogues. Recuperate was really annoying and unnecessary, so that's gone. Slice and Dice has been removed. It's an outlaw-only talent. So Honestly, I would be glad if it was just gone completely, because I really, really hate kind of upkeep abilities, and that's what Slice and Dice is. It's an upkeep ability, but now it's an outlaw only talent, so you don't even have talent into it if you don't want to. Throw has been removed. A different version of Throw has been added into the game. You will see it later. It's actually a nice addition, I think. It's much more iconic to Assassination Rogues, so you'll really like it. Relentless Strikes has been removed. It's now subtlety only ability. Swiftblade's Cunning has been removed. Blizzard has removed all raid-wide buffs, so there's no reason to have that anymore. Preparation has been removed. Subtlety, that is now a subtlety PvP talent, so they, like, PvP can, subtlety rogues can get it, but they have to get it through a PvP talent, so that is gone now. Shiv is still in the game for Assassination Rogues, only for Assassination Rogues as a PvP talent. So it's something we'll be able to get through the PvP tree, and we'll look at it when we actually look at the talents in the next video. But in this video, you won't see it because Shiv is gone, or Sheev, however you'd like to pronounce it. Shroud of Concealment is gone. That was a really fun ability that I know Rogues will miss. It's just been removed across Rogues across the board. Crimson Tempest has been removed. I'm not quite sure for Blizzard's reasoning behind removing Crimson Tempest. It's just they've taken it out of the game across all rogues. Smoke Bomb has been removed. It's actually a subtlety PvP talent, but I know that is another option that will be sorely missed by an Assassination Rogue. Losing Blind, losing Smoke Bomb, a lot of the things that were iconic, about an assassination or a rogue in general, where you'd be able to go inside, stealth, and so forth. You got to realize that they really narrowed subtlety to be the stealth-like class, and to be the one that can hide in the smoke, and really kind of mess with the opponent that way. Instead, outlaw rogue is going to be all about having a little bit of range, having a little bit of luck of the draw, and being able to deal some damage that way. And then an assassination rogue is going to be about the poisons and the dots that you're able to put on an opponent, and you can run away and let those do their work and then re-engage in a different way. So that's the way they want that to work. Lastly, Master Poisoner has been removed. That is the last removed ability for an assassination rogue. Otherwise, that is the entire list of removed abilities for an assassination rogue, which leads us into our changed abilities. There are actually only 3. There are a lot of changed abilities in terms of visual effects, so I'll show them to you. But in terms of changed abilities, there's really not much. The first is going to be Garrot, or Garrot. I'm sorry with the pronunciation on that. I've always pronounced it Garrot. So the change on this is that it no longer requires stealth. This is a big change. It always needed stealth before, and this is playing into the bleed and poison playstyle of a rogue, okay? Do you know that assassination rogues are the only rogues now that can now use poisons? So that's something that all the other rogues had before that they no longer have anymore. So if you feel like you've just been, removed out of the equation completely, like I said, it's because basically the other rogue specs were playing like offshoots of an assassination rogue before, and now they've condensed you and given you the real good stuff that actually plays to assassination and removed it from the other classes. So you're the only ones that can use poison, and now you have Garrot, which will allow you to put bleeds on the target, and that's what you're going to be about. You're going to be about putting bleeds and poisons on the target. So it no longer requires stealth. I can go up here to this training target dummy, and I can go ahead and just fire this off, just like that, no problem. Okay? So it no longer requires stealth. As such, it now has a 15-second cooldown, Since you no longer require stealth, it has a 15-second cooldown. Now, there are parts of it that will kind of come back. For instance, it will only silence the target if used from stealth. So it still does have some stealth mechanics. So if you go into stealth and then you use it, you will still get this silence mechanic out of it, plus the damage. But if you want just the damage, you can use it without stealth. So for the most part, it's all still there. It's just the benefit of you don't necessarily need stealth for it to actually go off, which can be beneficial for an assassination rogue, especially since you want to be able to be doing as much bleed damage and poison damage as possible. Lastly, I should say that the damage, to my knowledge, it's hard to judge off of my low-level rogue on live versus a 110 rogue here on the beta realms, but the damage has been significantly increased. So having that 15-second cooldown, using it, out of stealth is a very good option because it's going to add bleeds to the target, and you're going to do a lot of damage. 177,000 bleed damage over 18 seconds. Just to give you an idea, compared to Mutilate, Mutilate does 76,000 damage, and I believe that's how I compared the two. I took a common ability like Mutilate and I compared it to Garrote, and I checked it both ways, and that's where I recognized that Garrote was doing way more damage than it normally does. Now, second changed ability is Pick Lock. Real important stuff here. Pick Lock's cast time has been reduced from 5 seconds to 1.5 seconds, so if you were having difficulty getting off Pick Lock, you shouldn't have that issue anymore. And then lastly, the third changed ability is going to be Seal Fate. I believe it's possibly just a changed tooltip, but let me bring it up here so you can see. It's going to be at the end here. When you critically strike with a melee attack that generates combo points, you gain an additional combo point per critical strike. That's the important part of it. Before, I believe it said something along the lines, when you critically strike with a melee attack that generates a combo point, you gain an additional combo point. I believe per critical strike is in reference to something like Fan of Knives, where you can get multiple critical strikes off of a Fan of Knives, and it will gather up more combo points from that. Now, I do not know if that's the way it was already working on live, and they just never really had a... they never really showed it in the tooltip, and they're just fixing the tooltip error now, or that actually is a change. I'm not sure about that, but I'm relaying that information to you now, so that rogues, you know more than I do on rogue specifics. You will now know the information. Now, before I get into the new abilities, there are a lot of abilities that have just gotten kind of some overhauls to their sound effects and to their visuals, so I'm going to go ahead and show them to you. The first is going to be Cheap Shot. I really don't like this because it's lost its crack, but here's Cheap Shot. That's the new Cheap Shot. There is, I'm not sure if the Fan of Knives visual and sound effect has changed, but I'm going to go ahead and show it to you anyways, because I remember the one that Mr. Tony Romano did right there, the basic one. And I'm not sure if they had updated it yet earlier, already on live, but I'm going to go ahead and show it to you right here. This is Fan of Knives. I believe that's been in the game, but just showing you here one more time. And also just to show off that change to the Seal Fate tooltip. I will stand in the middle here with all these targets, and I hit 4 critical strikes there, and I got 4 combo points right off the bat. So that is the change there with Seal Fate, whether it's just a tooltip change or it actually is a change into how it functions. You now know the difference. So with that, there's Cheap Shot, Fan of Knives. There's Evasion that has changed. Let me go ahead, and we have it on the left hand side here. We'll use it. There's the new Evasion. You have a new Sprint, a new visual for Sprint, so let's go ahead and use that so you can see what that looks like. There you go. Then on top of that, you have Feint, which has changed. Very simple. You can see kind of the blue effect around it. You got that blue haze effect around the target. Kidney Shot has also changed, and this is the last one. So I'm going to go ahead and go into stealth here. And I didn't need to go into stealth, but we will go ahead. And let me go ahead and build up here, sorry. Mutilate, and then we'll use Kidney Shot. Right there. I really miss the good old crack that came out of stuns. It's kind of disappointing that it's not there anymore, but it is now gone. So, with that, we have 4 new abilities. The first of these is Crimson Vial. This is a new ability across all rogues. And Crimson Vial, 30 energy, 30-second cooldown. Drink an alchemical concoction that heals you for 30% of your maximum health over 6 seconds. Go ahead and use it here. I turn a little bit of red, a little bit on the base there, and then as you can see I'm healing for 73,000 per tick. The second new ability is Poisoned Knife. So this is kind of getting rid of your throw, but it's better. It works better for an Assassination rogue. You throw a poison-coated knife, dealing 14,000 damage and applying your active lethal and non-lethal poisons. So let me go ahead and just go ahead and activate some lethal and non-lethal poisons here. We'll put Deadly on and Crippling on. Have them both on, and then we'll go ahead and use Poison Knife on this target. And there you go. Has both poisons on the target. So if you're trying to slow someone down, you have Crippling Poison, you can go ahead and just use your Poison Knife. It generates a combo point. It costs 40 energy. So if you're out of range, this is a way to catch up to him, especially if you have something like Crippling Poison on the target. So that's something to look forward to. Shadow Step has now become baseline. That used to be a talent. That's no longer the case. You can now Shadow Step to a target and get behind them very quickly. That is something that really kind of Blizzard felt that all rogues needed was Shadow Step. So not only do you have Poison Knife to show them down, you also have Shadow Knife to get to them. The last is going to be Venomous Wounds. You regain 10 energy each time your abilities deal bleed damage to a poisoned target. So this is showing the interaction between poisoned and bleeds. You want to make sure your target is poisoned so that when you deal bleeding damage with Garrote or with Rupture, you are able to get more energy back so that you're able to do more damage with Mutilate, etc. So that's actually all the changed abilities for for an Assassination rogue. I mean, it's still very much the same. You still have your Envenom damage. You still have your Rupture damage. Your two main abilities there, dealing damage over time. Through Rupture, damage over time. Through Envenom, you have your poisons on the target. And then you have Mutilate. Things really have not changed so much as an Assassination rogue. So, with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the artifact weapons. We're already here. So let's look at these artifact weapons. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see what they look like. And the ability that comes with them is called Kingsbane. Releases lethal poison within the Kingslayers and injects it into your target, dealing 100,000 nature damage and instantly 100,000 nature damage instantly and an additional 125,000 nature damage over 14 seconds. Each time you apply lethal poison to a target affected by Kingsbane, Kingsbane damage is increased by 20%. So, 14, just to put it this way, what we'll do is we'll use Poison Knife because that will continually apply it so we can see just how much damage we can stack up on this here. We will use Kingsbane, and then we will just use Poison Knife to continually apply the lethal poison, and basically have 14 seconds of being able to apply that lethal poison, and we'll see this damage hopefully go up if I do this correctly. So here we go, Kingsbane now used, and we'll do this, and continue to use this, and we'll see the Kingsbane damage continue to go up. So Kingsbane's now at 46,000 nature damage. It's now at 50,000 nature damage. So I believe Kingsbane is off by this point. It originally started at around 35,000, 28,000 nature damage, and then as I continually applied deadly poison to the target, it went all the way up to 50,000 damage. That is a 45-second cooldown, but that is your artifact weapon ability. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the artifact tree here. They're called the Kingslayers. I believe one is called Anguish and the other is called Sorrow. You will always start right here where Kingsbane is, and then from there you will branch out across this tree and go in different directions to get to where you want. Now the epic portraits are obviously the best ones and the ones that you want to get to. Otherwise, the rest of them are very lesser talents. They're very simple, like so and so increased damage, blah blah blah. Very simple stuff that isn't really impressive, but will increase your power overall. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to go right to pick up this epic portrait, and then I'll go left and pick up all the rest. So first we have Assassin's Blades, increases the damage dealt by Mutilate by 15%. Then we have Poison Knives. When Phantom Knives strikes targets poisoned with your deadly poison instantly deals 6% of its remaining damage. Pretty useful. 3 stacks, so it's probably 2, 4, 6% of its remaining damage as you rank it up. Your Surge of Toxins. Finishing moves increase poison damage you deal to the target by 10% for 5 seconds. Serrated Edge. You have increases the critical strike chance of Rupture by 10%. And then the epic here is From the Shadows. Declaring your vendetta unleashes a barrage of poison daggers at the target for 957,000 nature damage over 20 seconds. That's a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and use vendetta here so we can see if this functions correctly. We'll exit out of this. Just bring vendetta down here, and I'll just go ahead and build up here real quick, and then we'll use vendetta and see if we have a visual effect on this here. You can see the daggers coming in there one at a time. You see them. That's the effect from the artifact weapons. You can see the daggers constantly hitting them. From the Shadows buff, healing 23,000 nature damage every 1 second to your vendetta target. So there you go. So back to the talent tree. We've now gone to the right. Let's go ahead and go left now and see the rest of the talent tree. We have Toxic Blades, increases the damage dealt by Envenom by 10%. We have Balanced Blades, increases the critical strike chance of Mutilate by 6%. Stacks up to 3, so that'll be 2% per stack. Just like up here, it'll probably be 3%, 6%, 10%, or 3, 7, 10%, I'm not quite sure, with Toxic Blades, and then this one will be 2, 4, and 6 with Balanced Blades. We have Urge to Kill, activating Vendetta refills all your energy. We have Shadow Swiftness, activating Shadow Step grants you evasion for 2 seconds. We have Shadow Walker, reduces the cooldown of sprint by 10 seconds. That's 3 stacks, so it'll likely once again be about 3, 7, 10, or 3, 6, 10. We have Master Assassin, reduces the cooldown of Vendetta by 30 seconds, so that'll be rank 3 of 3, 10 seconds per rank. I'm not quite sure, but I believe there was an enhancement in Warlords of Draenor that brought it down to 1.5 minutes. Now Vendetta is back up to 2 minutes, but you can talent it back down through your artifact weapons back down to 1.5 minutes, ending up in a net non-change. Not quite sure about that, but just know that the cooldown now for Vendetta is 1.5 once you have gone through the talent tree. Then we have Fade into Shadows, reduces the cooldown of Cloak of Shadows by 10 seconds. Once again, 3 ranks, so it'll be like 3, 7, and 10. Down here we have one of the epics. We have Blood of the Assassinated. Rupture has a chance to infect your target, increasing damage dealt by Rupture by 100% for 10 seconds. I'm not sure if there is an actual spell visual for that actually working. We can go ahead and use Rupture on the target and see if it actually appears that, yes, it does. So Blood of Assassinated on there, and you'll see it's actually a buff on there, and Rupture is doing a ton more damage than it should. So definitely a buff there. We have Gushing Wound. It'll be 3 ranks, increases the damage dealt by Rupture by 10%. We have Master Alchemist, increases the damage dealt by Deadly Poison and Wound Poison by 15%, so that would be 5% per rank, and increases the effect of Agonizing Poison's damage bonus by 7.5%, so that'll be 2.5% per rank. If you don't know what Agonizing Poisons is, find out in the next video. That's a talent. So it's one of the few times in which the talents of the artifact weapon tree actually do interact with talents in the PvE talent tree. Lastly, we have Bag of Tricks. Envenom has a chance to smash a vial of poison at the target's location, creating a pool of acidic death that deals 287,000 nature damage over 6 seconds to all enemies within it. Well, we just have to test this out too. And I'm going to do it over here on this. Since this is an AoE ability, I have to... There we go. There's our wonderful pool of death that you see all over the place, and it's dealing damage to both targets. That is what Bag of Tricks is. So, everything dealing with Assassination Rogues is all about poisons and bleeds. That's all it's about. Dealing poisons and bleeds, interacting the two to make sure that you get your energy back as quickly as possible, so that you can deal more mutilates, so that you can deal more poison and bleed damage. That is in the entirety of an Assassination Rogue. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like Assassination has been gutted. I feel like it'll still be very good in PvE, but something tells me that sub and maybe outlaw rogues will be more popular in PvP. I could be totally wrong because, once again, I am definition noob when it comes to rogues in when it comes to rogues in World of Warcraft, because it is the one class that I have not raised all the way to maximum level at any point in time. So I hope this video was enlightening. I am sorry that there is so little change, or so few changes, coming to an Assassination Rogue in World of Warcraft Legion. If you're disappointed, I'm really sorry. Try out one of the new specs. Outlaw Rogue looks like a ton of fun. Same thing with Sub, with the changes that they have received. So if you've been playing Assassin for a long time, give one of the others a try if you're kind of disappointed with how little has been done. But maybe this is just your tried and true, and you love the spec more than anything, and you'll continue with it. So that's it for the abilities and artifact weapons section of a Assassination Rogue. In the next episode, we will look at the PvE and PvP talents of an Assassination Rogue. Otherwise, I'll see you guys later. Teal us out.